the Hackerrank easy rated algorithm called Equalize the array. Reading this little blurb right here, I don't know about you guys, but I read over it like 5 times and it just wasn't clicking to me, but it's really, really simple. Basically, what it's saying is take an array, look for anything that occurs more than once, and whatever occurs the most number of times, whatever value occurs the most number of times, that's the array that you want to return. And how many elements would you have to delete in order to get that array? So it says, word for word, determine the minimum number of elements to delete to leave only elements of equal value. So if you had a bunch of 2s, in this case we've got 2 2s, and then there's 2 numbers that aren't 2, what's the minimum numbers of elements to delete to just leave the 2s? Well, it's 2, because you deleted 1 and you deleted 3. Okay, so let's head over to Replit and get to work. The array I have up here, I created. I didn't like the example array. It's really, really simple. You change the numbers up a little bit and it gets a little bit more inclusive for different things to think about. But so here we go. Let's, I think a good way to do this would be to store the occurrence of each value. So we have 1, 4. I think we'd want to show in an array or something that we have 1, 4. We have 2 5s. I think we should show that we have 2 5s somehow. And we have 3 6s. We should show that we have 3 6s. Obviously, the answer to this question will be 3. So what does that mean? That means that we have 3 6s and we want to delete the rest of the items in the array to leave the 3 6s there. So how many things would you have to delete? It'd be 3 items. So we'd want to somehow capture that there are 3 6s and then subtract the 3 6s from the length of the array. So that would be 6 minus 3, and that would return our answer of 3. Okay, so let's do this using a counter array. And if you haven't seen a counter array before, here's what a counter array looks like. We'll go ahead and set the variable of counter equal to 0. And what should we do? We should multiply 0 times something, and we're going to multiply 0 times the maximum in our array plus 1. And let's go ahead and print, should we print that? We'll go ahead and print that for those of you who aren't familiar with what a counter array is. So that will just be simply an array of 6 zeros. We know that our max plus 1 will be 6. Or yeah, this will actually be 7 zeros, but up to index 6. That's why I added that little plus 1 there, and that'll make sense in a second. So now we've got an empty array of 7 variables. Let's go ahead and do a for loop. So we're going to loop through our array. And for each number in our array, we want that index position to increase by 1, because then we have essentially stored the number of occurrences of that value. So we can write that by writing for num in our counter num plus equals 1. And let's go ahead and print this. I'm sure a lot of you are following already, but if you aren't, this will do a good job of explaining what we've just done. Okay, so what is the first number in our array? We're looping through our array, right? What's the first value in our array? That is num, right? That's going to be num. Num will be 6. So we have num of 6. That means we'll go to counter at index position num of 6 and add 1 to that. And that's what we have there. And that's why we added 1 to our counter, because if we didn't add 1 to our counter, this array would have 6 values, but its highest index position would be 5. So we have a value of 6, so we want to put it at index position 6, which happens to be the 7th value in this array, because we start with 0, right? So this would be 0, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So that's our first loop, right? That's our first iteration of our loop for the first value in our array. We'll then move to 5. We'll count the 5 there. Our counter will go up 1. We'll do the next iteration of our loop, of our array loop. That'll be another 5. 5 will go up 1. Perfect. And then we'll continue. Okay, so now we just need to do something really simple. I stated previously that the objective of this method is to take the length of the array and subtract the occurrences of the value that happens most often. So what happens most often? Six happens most often, and it happens 3 times. So we will want to subtract the length of our array. Subtract 3 from the length of our array. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say. Okay, so how can we write this? We can write this in the return, and we can write len of r minus max counter. And that's it. Let's actually go ahead and print it in Hackerrank itself. We'll actually return, but just to show our value, there you go. We get our value of 3. And just a quick tidbit, you might get a little confused by the 6 and the 3. So what is max counter? Max counter is the value. What's the highest number in this array? It is 3. 3 happens at index position 6. So index position 6 is important, but we're not actually going to do any math with the number 6. This is saying that if we take this array and we delete this 2 and we delete this 1, we will be left with 3 numbers, and they will all be 6s. Conceptually, that's what it's saying. So let's go ahead and copy this over to Hackerrank, paste it in, get it formatted, change this to return, get rid of our parenthesis, and let's see if this checks out. There you go, pass both sample test cases, run it against all of the test cases, and there you go, pass. Very simple code, nice and light on storage and light on time. I hope this makes sense to you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.